Why Sergio Perez deserves better. Oracle Red Bull Racing driver Sergio Perez, also known as Checo, recently spoke with a reporter from a sports streaming channel about his future at the Austrian team. This led to a load of reactions and speculations about whether he should stay at Red Bull or not. I thought about the highs and lows of Perez at Red Bull, and I pondered what I hope for him in the rest of his career. I'm Wimbo. Here's 3 seconds to leave a like. Checo's statement. Sergio Perez seems to know the score when it comes to how his performance is perceived by the top people at Red Bull, and more importantly, the media. Even with him being runner-up in the standings, his achievements, or lack of them at times, are scrutinized. From the Red Bull team boss Christian Horner, he hears one day that his seat is secure for 2024, and from the Red Bull advisor Helmut Marko, he hears the next day that nothing is sure in F1. Both are probably right, but with the media attention that especially his qualifying performance is getting, I feel he knows the writing is on the wall. It's no secret that Red Bull doesn't mess about too long when it comes to moving drivers around or letting them go entirely. I don't criticize them for it, as everyone who signs with them knows this too. That's why the 33-year-old from Mexico, that's in North America, said the following. If there's no place for me here in 2024, I will start looking at alternatives. I have to be in an environment where I can add something. If that's not here in 2024, I have to move on. That was quite a shocking statement from Checo, who in 2.5 years of driving for Red Bull never said anything like that before. I will let you know how I feel about it at the end of the video. Helmut Marko's reaction. The Red Bull advisor has these phases in his job where he does a lot of interviews. The media, and then not long after that, F1 Twitter, repeat the best bits and make a huge deal out of it. Dr. Helmut Marko has a degree in law, so I assume he must know what he's doing. But by God, do I cringe sometimes. But that's another topic altogether. So not long after Perez's interview, the 81-year-old Austrian said this. Sergio is already over 30 years old and will soon have his 4th child. He already has other interests, so we see what happens next. He added a few remarks about Checo's consistency and his life outside of racing, all done in the typical no-nonsense approach that we know from him. It's clear both parties are ready for a change if it comes down to this. What did Perez do for Red Bull? Perez has scored 5 wins for Red Bull in 2.5 seasons, making his total wins 6, as he also won the Sakir Grand Prix in 2020. He scored 11 P2 places and 7 P3 positions. I think that there are a lot of drivers that are a little jealous of all those trophies, especially the drivers before him in that seat would have loved those numbers. Unfortunately, in those say 50 races, there were many where he didn't get a podium and was nowhere near Max Verstappen. One could say that if he'd taken more points from Hamilton in 2021, the season final could have been a formality. That's why it was so important that he put that defense up in Abu Dhabi that gave him the nickname
Checo is a legend.
The Minister of Defense. The seasons after that showed the same picture. Perez being marginally slower than Max Verstappen was at the start of the season, a lot of noise from the media about being a title candidate, and then the decline. Some say it's the pressure of the title fight, but I doubt that so early in the season. Some say the cars aren't the same, which is even more ridiculous. It does have something to do with upgrades though. Red Bull will always choose to build a car as fast as possible and will let the drivers deal with how easy they are to drive. Max Verstappen can handle a more sensitive nose better than Perez, and that's where the difference is made. Perez has attacked corners during qualifying with a lot of guts, but that resulted in a few crashes. Most of the time he could make up places in the race. Perez is a wonderful racer. I enjoyed his battles during the Monza Grand Prix, also because they last longer than Max Verstappen's battles. All in all, Checo hasn't crumbled the way Gasly and Albon did before. I think Red Bull made the right choice to give Perez that seat after he was paid out of his contract by Lawrence Stroll. Side note, I'm quite surprised Aston Martin is not getting more stick for that and for keeping Lance Stroll in that seat. How I feel about the Checo situation. I totally agree with Sergio Perez and his decision to see what options are open. Being in a top team with all that pressure within and from the outside isn't easy. And why would you put yourself through all that if you know you're never going to win that title anyway? Valtteri Bottas had exactly the same problem at Mercedes for 5 years. He completely came to life again after he joined Alfa Romeo. He's doing what he loves, scoring a point here and there. Kimi Raikkonen did the same. So maybe a return to Sauber is great for him. Away from that awful pointy nose car that he never got used to. Teaming up with another driver from a top team that was chewed up and spat out. So that's my view on the Checo situation. What's yours? Subscribe. Take care now. Doei doei.